first school teacher. I've been a teacher for 15 years. I'm also a part-time philosophy for children trainer and consultant, and my passion is books. And the reason I do philosophy is because we can use books, and that's the main reason I got into it. There's much, much more to it, obviously. And I'm not going to be going into the future with all this technology. In fact, I'm going back hundreds and hundreds of years to when Socrates used to stand in the marketplace. So I'm really only going back to the basic word. I hope you don't mind, I brought a book out to try and keep myself focused on the things that the children say, because philosophy is all about what the children say. I work at the moment with 3- and 4-year-olds, and a lot of people think 3- and 4-year-olds can't think philosophically. That's because we're not giving them the skills from very early on to really utilise the questions that they ask. I get asked questions all the time like, how do you know I'm not going to be a butterfly when I grow up? What else? Where do days go when they've gone? Some other examples. How do we see dreams if our eyes are closed? And these are questions that come up in my classroom all the time because children know that I'm going to give them the time to talk about them and talk together about them. Before we can start using the picture books and really inquiring about them, I have to teach them certain skills. And one of the main skills we have to teach them is actually that it's okay to make choices. And that they're not always going to make choices between good and bad, but sometimes we're going to make choices between bad and bad. So we start very simply with a question board. Every morning when the children come into nursery, they have a question board that they do with their parents. And on it I give them choices of things to talk about. And it's their way of registering, so I know they're at nursery. But it's also my way of getting them to think. It's my way of modelling to parents that questions and thinking is important. Some of the things I start with are things like, I know that's on the bingo card, isn't it? So you can mark that one off. Would you choose? Would you rather have tiny elephants or giant babies? Then we start to think about, would it be good or bad if we had things like chocolate rain, magic wands for everybody, or dinosaur eggs? And we start to think about the other side of it. When you've made your choice, what do other people think? And is it always as clear-cut as it seems at first opinion? So would you dare say boo to a monster? But what if he couldn't hear you? Would you dare shout at your teacher? But what if they were standing on your toe? Would you dare pick up dinosaur poo? But what if it smelled like strawberries and chocolate? So all these things get children to see things from a different point of view. We think about things like, would you climb a beanstalk if you knew there was a giant at the top? Would you capture a gingerbread man if he wanted to be free? And would you share your bread with those who refused to help you make it? All these things come up in day-to-day life in a nursery. They come up through fairy tales and they come up through stories. And they come up through questions about what's happening in their real lives. And what we're doing is giving them the opportunity to talk and to discuss, to listen to other people's ideas and change their own minds, to know that it's okay, it's a journey. And we're not just filling up empty vessels with knowledge, we're giving them the skills to make that journey and to get their own ideas and to listen and to really work through things. I use a lot of fairy tales. We use fairy tale characters, and this is an example of how their philosophy training goes into their play and their dramatic play in the nursery. This was some children playing with some fairy tale figures at a castle, and I asked the children what they were doing. They said, well, we're putting all the lovelies in the castle. And I said, do you mind if I watch? And I'm going to read their dialogue for you. Let's put all the lovelies in the castle. The girl with the fish is lovely. And the other child said, but she's swimming. She's not in the castle, so she can be good outside. I said, did you know some mermaids have, like this one, have very sharp teeth? So the child looked at it and looked at me and said, she's not smiling. I said, oh, so she's good then? Yes. And there are some fairies, and they are lovely. And I said, oh, I found a king. He's wearing lovely clothes, isn't he? Can he come in the castle? No, he's not a lovely. He's a nasty. He's not a girl. I said, are only girls lovelies then? Yes. I said, but this pixie you've put in the castle, he's a boy, isn't he? Can he still be a lovely then? Yes, he can. Can't he, Nell? Nell hadn't realised this, I don't think, so, okay. I said, so now you've got a boy in there, can the king be a lovely too? No, but he could be a lovely over there by himself. When I've got the children really used to being able to talk to each other and make choices and know what they're saying and why, and give reasons and think about the logical understanding of themselves and each other, we start to use lots and lots of these books that Marilyn has already pointed her way to, and lots of these. And I teach very young children, and I teach the same books with 4-year-olds, I might teach to 9-year-olds. It's the questioning and their questions that are really interesting. I've used a book called Aldo, which is on my table, by John Birmingham. Just hold it up, Marilyn. There you go. And I've just done this one recently with my philosophy club, which ranges from reception to year 2s. And they asked questions about dreams and reality and about imagination. Some of the things that they said were dreaming is imagination, and your head is tricking you. Dreams is electricity waving about in your brain and making pictures. The ceiling gets shimmery when you wake up because your head is actually still thinking it's dreaming. These are the sorts of things that are really intriguing to listen to. We've just used another book, The Three Robbers by Tony Umbara, and this was really interesting. I've worked with parents a lot on philosophy so that the parents also take home questions that the children have thought about in philosophy, and they answer them together as a family. And they have philosophy journals that go to home and back again. And we had some very interesting thoughts about this, where parents are saying it is always wrong to steal. There is no circumstance at all when you can steal. What about if you were protecting your children from hunger? What if you were in a concentration camp? Would you steal then for your children to survive? There are lots of different things that we have to think about in the world. It's not always black and white, and I think it's really important that we get our children thinking about this right from the very first time they come into school. I'm really passionate about it, as you know. The Philosophy Club, oh sorry, I've got to mention what was on the children said there. You're still bad, this was the story of the three robbers, you're still bad if you spend most of your life robbing and less of your life being good. Life is like a piece of pizza that you have to cut up. We've talked about computers a lot in philosophy. We've talked about technology, and we've talked about whether computers are real, whether thinking a computer can really think. We've had so many fun adventures, so many fun journeys in philosophy that I've got books full of things, and the quotes are just wonderful. It's about really thinking about what children really think about what they understand. I was hoping the camera would be waving at me because I've kind of run out of what it is. So, is it waving at me?
It's going to be, yeah.
It's going to be. Okay, so let me think. I actually started writing because I didn't know I was going to do this until about 10 o'clock this morning. And I discovered that Marilyn was going and thought, oh, I've got a lift because my husband's at cricket. So I thought, excellent, I'll do this. So I actually just started writing. And I put down that I was going to bring a few 3- and 4-year-olds and get them to engage in a Socratic dialogue with you about the nature of man. But apparently their mum said they were going to be out playing or something. So, I'm joking, but anyway. Philosophy in the early years of life